Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast brought to you by myself, Uncommon Fossil, and 10 Types.
Yep. Hello, everyone. And today we're taking a look at some special Pokemon cards. So, Pokemon cards are physical cards. We are not looking at physical cards, but I saw this video about Magic the Gathering. I watched a little bit about that. And the people, and this was like a thing, I think it was like a trend, and people would Sharpie out parts of the card to change what it did. I don't know if people have done that with Pokemon. I would not be shocked if they have, but I couldn't really find too much stuff about it. But we decided to do that. These aren't physical cards, so they're just like blacked out with rectangles. But yeah, we have some cards. So we're gonna start things off. Is that I feel like that's a pretty good. Also, I'm like kind of sick, so
Ye-
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think your voice sounds worse than you feel, you said, but because your
Yeah, I
voice is
feel
a
like
little
pretty
rough.
much fine. Yeah.
So it's fall. There's allergies happening. I think both of us have a little bit of allergy slash cold going on. I guess the other way to look at it, these are like redacted cards, right? Where you have text that has been edited out, right? For all of our safety, we could say.
Um.
Making
Yeah.
making these cards more playable and or more interesting is kind of the idea, I would say.
I guess. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true for all the cards. But anyway, so the
No.
first card I have here is Hand Trimmer. Hand Trimmer normally says each player discards cards from their hand until they have 5 cards in their hand. Your opponent discards first, and it also says in parentheses if a player has 5 or fewer cards in hand, they don't discard, which I assume most people would assume. But Pokemon added it here just in case. And I changed this card a little bit, moved
A
some of the
little bit.
text. Yeah, removed most of the text. Each player discards 5 cards in their hand. Now it should probably say like from and it doesn't, but whatever. This is like you can figure this card out. Some of the wording is kind of weird, but each player discards 5 cards in their hand. That is potentially their whole hand. That's potentially both players' entire hands. You can play 2 hand trimmers turn one, and now each of you has no cards. This is like kind of broken. Well, it's very broken and very silly, but hand trimmer is really bad. I mean, it's not completely unplayable, but it's not particularly good either. Like I'd say it's a niche card within control. People playing it in Lugia. Anyways, but that was a
Yeah,
little while ago.
I mean, Hand Trimmer, when it first came out, saw some play. Now we have, what, Zerniak's Machinations? Is that what it is? The supporter that's better?
No, that's not what it is. But we'll go on
Zero
that.
Six Mess. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Zero Six Machinations, I
Only
believe
your
is.
opponent discards. They discard down to 3. It's your supporter. But look, this was in like control decks. Obviously, Snorlax is a thing, still is. In any control, or in possibly a mill deck where where opponents like building up a big hand, right? It has some value. It's an item, so that's good. You've gone over the top, though, right? I mean, in terms of actual viability, this would be awful if it was printed. I got to say, right? Um,
Yeah, like if it was balanced, it would just stop the game completely because neither player could like do anything.
right.
Um, yeah, like theoretically, you could have really big hands, but that's just not very common. Right? Hand trimmer is the regular hand trimmer is used to punish big hands. This is the opposite, used to punish moderate sized hands. Um, yeah.
Right. Because if you're the player going second, because this is some of those cards that could get down potentially to a 0 card hand in expanded format, and those cards I think would generally have been banned at this point. If this was in format now, you'd play 4 of in your deck. Most decks want to go first now. You'd love this to go first deck because you probably get to play 1 a lot of the time. Your opponent has to go discard down to 2 cards they draw for turn. They're starting the game with 3 cards in hand, right? Which
Well,
generally,
no, they just card. They'd have 1 card because they have their basic Pokemon as well.
they discards 5. Oh, that's 7. Oh, that's right. So they're down to what, 1 card? You draw 7, you play 1,
Yeah,
and if they foolishly bench another Pokemon, then they have
yeah.
no cards in hand. So you're right. I was thinking it was much better spot than you actually are. You're down to 1 card plus you draw 1, and you can't bench anything. So if you'd play this, and then you'd play the whole switching donk deck, right? With the Iron Crown or something like that. The
Yeah,
no, the
Iron
Iron
Valley, yeah.
Valiant,
So
right?
that did, yeah, it did heavily rely on Scoop of Net, which is partially why it got banned. But
Yeah, but with
whatever.
switching and stuff, if your opponent then is afraid to bench a second Pokemon, right, it makes that
Oh
donk
yeah,
strategy much better.
I guess so. But people normally don't bench a second Pokemon, anyways. I feel like um, you can expand it. I don't do that, especially because your first Pokemon's probably like an attacker, and your second Pokemon's like the Dedenne GX or something, a Pokemon that literally like loses all value if you start it. So Um,
Yeah, look. Your experience in live is much different than mine. I've been very salty lately. Half the time when I take a mulligan in live, my opponent slaps down a Pokemon on the bench even before they see what I mulliganed.
yeah, which by the way is not the right play because theoretically, like in certain matchups, specifically against Snorlax, which is a very good deck, but certain other decks as well, in various scenarios, like you generally don't want to bench multiple Pokemon at the start of the game.
Right.
Almost ever, theoretically, there are ways you could get punished. You could get donked, which is getting knocked out turn one before you even get a turn generally. But that's not like that. That like doesn't really happen ever. So
Right. Generally, you don't need to bench a second Pokemon in this right now, even if you're going second. But if your opponent's taking a mulligan, you should always see what their hand is before you bench another Pokemon, because that could change what you do. But anyway, um, so that's beside the point. So, Hammer, you went over the top with this card, I would say.
over the top now. This is perfectly balanced. No, yeah, this card's kind of broken. So let's move on to my next card. I don't think we really need to go over the original cards too much if the cards are changed drastically. My
Right.
idea was to just make new cards. So we got Perilous Jungle, which now says during Pokemon checkup, and it is a stadium, put 2 damage counters on each Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. In play, I guess. Um,
Right. Now,
yeah,
I'll just say first, I've been playing this past week because I was playing a Metacham EX deck, which is why my week also went bad in terms of Pokemon. It was not a good deck, but I mean, it's a fun, stupid deck, and the videos coming out. But so that is the Pokemon's if the active is poisoned, then you put damage counters on both. So that's what's been covered up here.
mhm. So I feel like this is kind of interesting. There's a deck, like a bunch of cards are made that interact with self damage in interesting and
Yeah.
theoretically very confusing ways, but whatever. We'll get to that when we get to it. And this card, I feel like a card that just inflicts damage over time is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it's like kind of not fun because we look at like Frostlass, which Frostlass's biggest partner right now. It's probably Venomoth, which isn't like a very fun card to play against. But this puts a timer on both players. Like Frostlass, you
Right.
play around and don't bench, like don't damage yourself. But here you have to damage yourself essentially.
Right, and I don't think you're going to pair this with Frostlass because Frostlass HP is not that high, right? Is it like 90 or something? So
Yeah,
it's going to get knocked out pretty quickly. So I'm a big fan of Dodrio though, right? So this would be
mhm.
awesome with Dodrio. I think we might be seeing that later on in the podcast
Actually
too.
it's a different
Oh, it's a
Pokemon.
different Dodrio. So Dodrio,
No, it is Dojo. It is
you
Dojo. It's
where,
just
where you put where the damage level is based upon damage counters for one
yeah.
energy. So
Actually, you can open that card. The
okay.
the Pokemon that's not Dodrio. It's actually Doio, and
Oh, I
yeah,
apologize. The original was Dodrio, but
yeah. Now it's Doyo. It's actually like the same as Dodrio. I didn't really change anything, but it's Doyo, which involves some do.
yeah. So look, Perilous Jungle on that though, it's interesting, right? I don't that one, I could see that as a card. It could, if it was printed, it wouldn't ruin the game like your hand trimmer card would. I would say.
No, I mean it's pretty solid. Like it does a lot of damage. Like the games right now are pretty fast
Yeah.
and not particularly friendly to single prize loyalty Pokemon. This is also in that same general like idea, but it is like funny and it does damage. It's just a game that just straight up does damage, which we don't really see that often.
No.
We never see it to this degree. There was what was the stadium? Shrine of Punishment, which placed was it? That was 1 damage counter on EXs and GXs. So this is more damage on weaker Pokemon, and that will not be so good for them. But whatever, it's funny.
Yeah, I mean these evolving like stage 2 EX decks, I don't know if you could play those because you've got to basically get because they're what's like 60 HP, you've got to be able to evolve it in a hurry or else you're just giving up prizes. So it would be, it would definitely warp the game, I will say. But
Yeah.
but if people that don't like Dustnor in the game, you Ting you're all set with that. So you can shut down Dustnor.
Um. Yeah. That's true. So next we have my Ultra Ball card. This card, obviously, Ultra Ball is a pretty good staple in Pokemon TCG right now. Played in a lot of decks, and I've changed a little bit of text here. Uncommon Fossil. Do you want to read it?
All right, so you discard 2 cards just like you do now from hand. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your deck. So it's just goes back in the deck. So it does two things with this card. One, you thin your deck, and thinning is winning, right? So anything that thins is good, right? So it's still
Yeah.
still
I mean,
good.
into your hand,
Thins your hand,
like
but
part of your
but
deck,
but
but
ultimately after, and then you can play Iono after this, and you've thinned your deck too, right? Um, Potentially. And then also you have shuffled your deck, and sometimes if you just got
well, I
Iono,
don't know. It doesn't say shuffle your deck because that was what the your deck part is. So I
oh,
don't
so do
know.
I
Like
get to stack my deck then? Is
I
that
don't know.
part of
I
it?
don't really know. It doesn't
Okay.
really say. So
Uh,
yeah.
oh wait, because so you covered up it. Let me look at. So it
So
said
it said shuffle, put it into your hand, of course, and then shuffle your deck.
okay.
Um, I believe is what it. That looks like
So
too
you covered
much.
up the shuffle, yeah. And I didn't then shuffle, so I missed that part. So that is interesting. Obviously, that because there's ruling issues with some. So now the whole debate, which we're not going to get into, of is declumping okay? Well, declumping is, I think, illegal. Period. I think, but can
Yes,
you?
it's which is the idea of like taking cards. It's like unshuffling your deck.
Right.
Um, which is like kind of weird because if you're shuffling anyway, like if you shuffle it after, like
It
surely if
doesn't
you're like
matter.
not yeah, it shouldn't matter. But obviously like then there's no point in doing it in the first place either, except for searching easier, which is generally the idea of why someone would do that with like just unintentionally, I guess.
Well, yeah, sometimes. Well, yeah, why someone declump, but well, I don't want to waste time on that probably. But sometimes like you, what I try to do if I'm trying to be good about it, I'll slide the cards I'm thinking about grabbing up, but that way they're still in the same spot. If I don't want it, I can push it back down. The typical thing I used to do, and people still do, is the card you're thinking of getting, you put on top of the deck, so you don't have to dig through again. But then if you change your mind, you have changed the deck before you shuffle, which is,
Right. I mean, in Pokemon TCG Live, it sorts your entire deck every time anyway. So
yeah, I
pretty low bar here.
but here you could rearrange your deck, I guess, some, and the
I
cards
don't know.
stay
I
there.
mean, it doesn't like say that you can do that though. But you do search for a Pokemon and then you reveal it. So you can probably put the Pokemon anywhere you want.
Well, it
Um,
says into, so I guess the official ruling is you can't go on top of your deck and you can't go on the bottom. It has to be in the middle of your deck. Now, if it's the only
I
card in
don't know. I guess
deck, it can't go into your deck, or does it? I don't know. We'll have to.
I don't I don't really
You
know.
think it
This
could
is
go on
wording
top
that's
or
unused.
whatever? So you could use it to put a card on top of your deck to draw with your Curlia,
Yeah,
right? I guess that's what
which is
it
like
does.
not particularly good, but it's like not completely unusable. It's like funny. I don't know.
It's
I thought it was
yeah. I mean, you've taken one of the best cards, a key staple card in the game, and made it pretty much relatively useless, right? Is what I would say.
yeah.
We kind of did. You want to talk about the Dodrio
We'll
or
talk
you want to
about
do that
that
later?
one. There's not too
Well,
much to talk about the Dodrio right now.
okay.
We'll keep it in the back of our minds. The Dodrio is the same as right. Well, actually, it's Doio, and now
I
it's
know
the
it's
same as regular.
Doio. You changed the name.
I did, and they've also do. Yep.
Do
So
yeah. Okay.
you
Um,
got a Pokemon now. You got a Rhydon, right?
yeah, right on stage one fighting Pokemon. I love the single prize stage one Pokemon. To me, it's I wish I they're not good. That's the problem. As well as even even the single prize stage one's EXs are always a bit dicey. But to me, they're easy to
Wait, what?
evolve.
Single prize stage one EXs?
Oh, they're not that good in general either, right?
No, no,
They're
no. What does? No, you mean just stage one EXs?
stage one. Sorry, stage one EX. Yeah, not single prize. Sorry, the single prize stage ones and the stage one EXs. Right?
Hmm.
The basic EXs and the stage two Xs are you'd have to say are better generally than the stage one EXs.
Yeah.
I would think. Although I have a soft spot for stage one. So trying to make this better. I'm trying to make better, but not over the top. I have some absurd cards as well. So keeping it very similar. Destructive Horn for 3 energy. Fighting Colors. Colors does 80. Powering it up's a problem. I could have covered up some energy costs, which maybe it should have. You flip a coin. And then I think it was if heads discard an energy for the opponent's active Pokemon. Now you flip a coin still because I'll keep that in the game, but you just discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It doesn't matter what the result is, but you might as well waste people's time by flipping a coin and then picking up your dice when it rolls on the floor. Right? Keep that in the game.
Yeah. You want to talk about the Crushing Hammer?
Sure, the crushing hammer because I solved that. I look. I hate crushing hammers. I hate playing
Okay.
them, and I hate playing against them. So but so I really do, and I've played them at times just because they're really good for some decks. But it's now just flip a coin. So if you're a hater of crushing hammer like me, this solves the problem, right? At this point, I don't believe there's any benefit to flipping a coin in the game. I don't think. Maybe there is something that I can't think of where if there's a coin flip on certain things, it matters for other game states. I don't think though. So you can the old Mugenisec would play it because it's an item and they can play it every turn, right? So they would play any item just to dump it. But basically, I've removed that evil card from the game that Pokemon will not stop reprinting. Also,
Yeah, maybe they won't reprint it again in Gen 10, and so maybe it'll rotate in like a few years. Then it'll be back.
I don't
It'll be
think
like
right.
it's finally rotating. Boom, reprinted.
Yeah, I was hoping it was going to rotate in the past, but I don't think I don't know when the last time it was not in format. So, because it's just such a huge swingy card, right? Discarding an energy is huge.
I
Of
mean,
course,
right now in standard, it's not like as big of a deal. Um,
well,
yeah,
it depends on the deck. It's still, it's still a big deal. Generally, you're right. There's more decks that can get around that because there's more things that can power themselves up in a turn. Because you're getting knocked out and you're having to power up your active Pokemon. So a lot of things are designed to self power each turn. Um, but there also are big tanky Pokemon as well. So look, I'm a hater, and I think I took care of it here.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, I think we might end up playing with these cards at some point as well. We might not. We'll see if they're like actually playable. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
then we'll have to work out the rules for some of these things too, which get more
yeah.
complicated in some of the cards. Um,
But then you have a Diancie here for
yeah,
us.
Diancie, which you said sees some play, and I guess
Yeah,
it
this
does.
card definitely sees play. It like sees play. It's a counter to Lugia.
Yeah.
It's played in control sometimes and played in some other things. It's just essentially it does 40 for each special energy attached to all your opponent's Pokemon normally, but that's not what it does here.
Right. It's a basic. It's a one energy colorless, so that's why you can slap it into any deck. It's versatility. But even against Lugia, I don't think it saw a ton of play there. It's just too niche. So I just get rid of covered up the word special. So 40 for each energy attached to all your Pokemon. I think it might
All your
actually
opponent's Pokemon.
all your opponent's Pokemon. So I think it might be a fair card. I don't think it would be. So that's part of the question. Would it be overpowered? So obviously, there's a lot of decks that play the Teal Mask Ogre Pond that flood a lot of energies. So it would be very brutal for those decks. But there's a lot of decks that still don't have much energy in play, right? So I don't think it would be too crazy for the game, but I think it would make the card playable as a playable option for a lot more.
I guess. I feel like it's like doing what it's supposed to do, which is like counter Lugia. And yeah, but anyways, oh,
Okay.
I also wanted I feel like there's not too much to say about the Stancy, but I did want to say something else about the Rhydon, a different thing you could have done.
Yeah.
Instead of saying flip a coin, and then just kind of you could say flip an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon.
Okay, right. I have to cover up. So flip an energy, right? Flip an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I don't know what would that mean though. Does
I don't
that
know,
mean
you
I
just
turn the card
you flip
upside
it over.
down so now
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not an energy anymore?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't exactly know, but I was thinking, this solves the problems with the card.
Flip an energy. Yes. Flip you know.
Flip a
Well, how
discard
about flip your
from
opponent's
your opponent's
how
act.
about flip your opponent's active Pokemon?
That's good. That's good. Flip your opponent. They just like flip their chair.
Yeah, see
Um,
now we're getting into dangerous situations there. So,
yeah. But yeah, it's destructive. It's in the name of the attack. Anyway, so that was my lovely idea, um,
okay.
right there.
Yeah, because you
But
were gonna modify that card, but you said you did not. So,
well, no, I thought of another way which you could after I saw yours.
okay, all right. So, yeah, so you think Diancie's balanced the way it is now. Hand trimmer, obviously, you sorted that one out. I'm closing up your cards because we need to pull up some more now, right? So,
Yeah, I think I want to talk about. Can I talk about my like stuff at the my evolution lines?
yeah, no, you got a collection
Yeah.
of cards here,
So those
right?
would be my first six. There's the Hawlucha as well, which like kind of
The
goes with
top
it.
the top six cards and starting including the Dragapult.
Yeah, hmm
Okay,
So I'll actually talk about Hol. No, no, we'll talk about Do first, which of course evolves into
hold on. You go ahead. I'm opening it up while you're speaking. So,
yeah, which evolves into Doio or whatever. So we have Do, which has 50 HP. It has the ability Battle Hardened. Admittedly, this is an ability that like doesn't really do anything here. because its attack does for one colorless, it does 10 base damage, and it does 3 more damage for each damage counter on your Pokemon.
Wait, so do you have a card called Do, you said?
It's the fighting one.
Okay, let me
It's
just.
not the Holucha, it's the Blood Marcelina.
Oh, okay.
It
I didn't
it's
go. Okay, I
it's
didn't
now
go far
Do.
enough opening things up. Okay, so there's Do. Do with two O's, just because. Why not?
Yeah. It's Do. So, yeah, does that attack sound interesting? I feel like it's pretty fair and balanced in its damage output. Basic, 1 colorless, does 10 and 3 more damage for each damage counter on your Pokemon.
But you reduce the energy to one, right? And, and
Yeah.
and it does evolve. This was a final evolution, right? In its original.
Yeah.
So you made it to one that evolves, and therefore it does get nerfed some. So you did one of the things I was concerned with didn't do. You've taken the damage numbers away from all multiples of 10, right? So
I
now you
did. I did do that here.
so this is a good move, especially Pokemon probably should listen to us and probably should give you a bunch of money because now everyone's got to buy new damage counters, right?
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about, these things, right? So
Yeah, people will sometimes put dice, but, like, 1 dot represents 10. Now 1 dot needs to represent 1, so people are gonna have, like 100 dice
it's going to
on
be
their
this
card.
giant pile of dice of
Yeah.
counters covering up the board.
Um,
So,
this gets a little confusing, like, what is a damage counter? Like, is 10 damage a damage
oh,
counter? Or is
wow.
1 damage not any damage counters? Or is 1 damage point 0.1 of a damage counter? And now are we gonna be hitting,
So now
like,
this is
point
three
zero
tenths.
zero 0.003 damage for some attack or something like that?
So it does three damage for each damage counter. Okay, so right, because right now damage counter is equal to 10 damage, but now if we're doing single digits of damage, yeah, that all has to get rethought. So maybe we get into fractional damage amounts too. So then it's going to get
Yeah, but this seems like
really
it's gonna, like,
not good.
spiral into this, but anyway, that's
Yes.
not my problem. I
No,
mean, it is, but
you're just a card designer doing
yeah.
what you do. So,
And this evolves into Dojo, everyone's favorite, which is
well, no, evolves into
Doyo. Doyo.
exactly. Yeah. So, but that is everything else on the card is the same as Dodrio,
Yep,
right? You just change the name, so it would change what it evolves from.
yep. And so this is kind of interesting. Also, one concept I didn't do this, was a card that evolves from itself. So you could like
Mm.
play the Pokemon I ended up thinking of that what could be the one I want to evolve from would be Ladybug, um, or no, Lydian, from Silk Crown, and essentially its ability on play it gusts a 90 HP Pokemon. But I'd probably just change it to a gust anything. And then you'd have Letta, which would be the basic and the stage one, and then it like evolves from itself. So you'd play the basic, and then you'd play the stage one onto it, and then you play the stage one onto it again, and you play the stage one onto it again. So you could like keep playing the stage one, and
You evolve back and forth.
well, no, you just like keep using this, reusing the same on playability because you're playing it onto the same Pokemon. Or you could do that with like
Okay.
Noctowl. You play Noctowl, and then like Noctowls, you need all these different Hoots, but now you could just have one Noctowl and evolve that Noctowl into another Noctowl.
Mm. Well, you're going to need at
And
least two Noctowls then, right? You can't just have
yeah,
one Noctowl on deck, but you don't. You can get rid of the Hoots. So
you'd play one Hoot, you'd play one Hoot and then a bunch of, and the Hoot
oh,
and
okay.
Noctowl would need to have the same name, so it'd be like, ooh.
Wait, so you're going to have two Pokemon the same exact name. One's a basic and one is a evolution.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that with Archeops, not the same thing, which is like really confusing. There's like a stage one Archeops, and there's like a stage two Archeops. I think, um, yeah. So, I think you can evolve your stage one Archon into a stage one Archeops. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know why Pokemon does things like this, but yeah, there's like stage one Archeopsis and stage two Archeopsis.
Yeah, it used to
Anyways,
be
I did end up doing that though.
okay, but just so we can be glad that it didn't get that silly. That's what you're trying to tell us.
Yeah, of course it doesn't get that silly. Anyways, let's move on to the other evolution line, which starts with Dura, evolves into Khan, and then we have everyone's favorite Pokemon Rogue, and then we have Dragapult EX as well. So, anyways, we'll start at the bottom. I have any other questions about Do and Do you?
No, I'm not sure of it's a weird one. The synergy is kind of weird. I'm just trying to think the logic. We do have this like it's changing from a bear to a bird too, so we're getting a little more extreme in what's happening with these evolutions too. I will
Yeah, I mean,
say.
these next ones are gonna get crazy, I guess. So, you didn't do any evolution lines, right?
No, I did not. So
I'm gonna
I
say this took a really long time to make, to find Pokemon with similar names that have interesting interactions with each other. This took so long, but anyways, so we have Dura, it was Durant, and it has 70 HP. Its attack does this first attack, Swarming Rage for one colorless, does 20 damage for each damage counter on all of your Duras,
oh,
which includes itself or Dura, and that's like a pretty standard attack. I directly like buffed the attack by making it instead of one battle one colorless, it's just one colorless, which I feel like seems like more fair.
no, yeah. I mean that's right. I mean, but you could almost use the attack at that. It's still not like a great attack, right? But with the one metal, one colorless, it was unusable before, right? Now it's like almost usable.
Yeah. Especially with some of the self damage. I'll actually say the Hawlucha. The change I made to this card was I just made it damage your own bench Pokemon instead of your opponent's, and now this
Hmm.
allows you to get self damage in play,
Yeah. Wait, this
which
is
I think could be cool.
wait the Halucha. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't open that one up. I don't think. All right.
but yeah, just a simple change there. Remove the word opponents.
So
So now it's not your opponent's bench Pokemon, it's your own.
yeah, you don't have a choice. It's your bench alone. So
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So
But yeah, that's like this whole deck with the Do and the Do You and then this evolution line and then the Hawlucha as well as potentially that stadium damaging your own Pokemon is to
right.
do self damage so then you can do more damage.
Yes. So you have the basic, the Dura, um, and then you have the second attack as well.
Oh, I think I somehow this is oh no, what on earth has happened here? Okay, it's fixed. I don't know, something's getting unhappy here. My like the Durant was like half like Dragapult or something. I don't know. I think the
Okay.
image wasn't loading right, but whatever, it's back. So we have hard scissors as well for two colors, 80, and it takes 20 less next turn, which is still there. Yeah,
It's still garbage. It was garbage at what was it? Was it metal
it's not
colorless?
completely terrible. Yeah, it's not completely like unusable. Like
Well,
it's
now
not particularly
you're
good.
attaching a double turbo, right, to pay for it. So you're doing 60 and you're using a special energy, which and you're only taking 20 less. So that means they hit for 90, you're knocked out. So
No, it's not like good, but like
I mean, it's
theoretically, it's like and it knocks out Mimikyu and a couple of basics. It's not all that, but um,
yeah. I mean, it's pretty bad. But look,
I think if it was a
it's
one color, so it'd be arguably too good. So.
maybe. Yeah, maybe it would be. Maybe. So, but the point is that it's to evolve, right? So we have the so we'll go. So you have the con card, right, which evolves
Yeah,
from
how about you read the
all right.
cards
So
you
we
have
have this
here?
ability, a bridge, I guess, is how we say it. And all of your Pokemon have that have energy attached have no retreat cost. And you're all about the free retreat. That was your thing from the last podcast. Free retreat is
Exactly. No, I
what
mean
it's
it's a good
all
it's
about. Free retreat's a good thing. So before
yeah.
it was metal energy, I believe, right? Is what you've covered up here.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then we have Iron Last for one colorless does 60, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can attack. What was it? Three energies, and it did 160 before and couldn't attack.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I think I was looking at modifying this one as well, but I don't remember. So what I was thinking about. So, um, so the attack is not great, obviously still, but it has an ability that has some value, right? So you get so every Pokemon can become a pivot, which you like, and it is a good thing. So as
Mhm.
long as you still need to look, you probably want it to evolve to something else useful, is what I would say. But yeah, is
Okay,
that a
so we
fair
got
commentary on that one?
yep. And then you want to read the next one. You don't really need to look at the first attack on this Pokemon. It just says you take 40 less. It is free, but it's nothing
It's
particularly special here.
okay. This is Roke, which arises from
Yep.
or evolves from Khan, and then we have Bongens. Is that how we say it?
Yep.
Okay, for one colorless, does 60 plus if any of your benched Khan, which is the basic,
That's the stage
the
one.
stage one. Sorry. Oh, so this is really it says it's a stage 1, but it's really a stage 2.
Yeah, you can't rare candy into it, I guess. But
Because
yeah,
it is a stage 1, but you can get it with the A spec that gets stage 1s.
yeah, yeah.
That's what you wanted to make sure could happen. So if any of your benched con have any damage counters on them, this attack does 120 more. So it's 180 for one colorless. That's very good, right? Before was it?
On a stage 2,
That's true. I keep
essentially.
forgetting. I keep seeing stage 1 there, and it's not. So the card's lying. You probably should just cut up the 1 and just call it a stage, perhaps.
Yeah,
So yeah, as a stage 2, it's not quite good enough. But anyway, it
yeah.
wasn't.
And then there's another card.
And then we have the Dragapult EX, which says stage 2, but now it's a stage 3 because we don't
Yeah.
evolve
Oh,
enough.
they could, I believe, rare candy from the basic into the Dragapult EX still, which is kind of silly.
It, I,
But whatever.
yeah, I guess I'd have to read the exact wording, but I
Yeah.
guess you're right. So this evolves from Roke, and it's a Terra as long as this Pokemon is prevent all damage done to it by attacks. So that's a bit so you can't get damaged even when it's in the active spot now. So that's a bit of a change, I would say.
Yep. Pretty
Um,
strong here.
Jet Headbutt's still the same, 70 for one colorless, and then we have Phantom Die for one psychic, does 200, and put damage counters on your Pokemon in any way you like. So, which means you don't have to put any as well, right?
No, no, no.
Or you
I
can,
guess I would make this not a stage 2, so you couldn't rare candy. It's not intended that you can get into play turn 2.
okay,
Going first.
because so obviously we have these other attackers that want their damage base, so it becomes very good. So, I mean, being able to, the fact that you can put damage counters on your own Pokemon any way you like probably makes it too good, especially for one energy.
Well, but it is like a stage 3.
Yeah, so I guess that's fair. I mean, I don't, yeah, I don't think I want to see stage 3 Pokemon in the game. I would say,
But there were stage 3s. There have been stage 2s at some
I
points.
guess, but they got rid of them. It probably was a good thing, right? I mean, they're
Yeah,
always adding new tricks. I don't think more stages is what we need in the game, but
yeah.
so very good. And you can knock yourself out as well. I
You can
don't.
knock out all Pokemon. You can just like lose.
You can knock out
Uh,
you can knock out your Dragapult EX if you want, right?
Yep.
So yeah. So I mean, I don't think this is going to be the deck I'm going to grab. When Pokemon releases this as a set, but there it is.
But it's invincible,
Well,
essentially.
just from damage, right?
Yeah,
By
yeah, that's the thing.
attacks, um, is yours as well. But so you have to have things like placing damage counters or things that do not knocking it out and such, or special conditions, right? Again, you
Mhm.
could do that as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, the new Terra power or whatever we call, I don't know what it's called. It's not, is it an ability? Whatever it is,
No, I don't know.
it's the Terra something. I think that's probably a little overpowered, I would say.
Yeah, but it's more exciting than the other one.
I don't know if
It's
it's
more
exciting.
impactful.
I don't think the game, it's exciting in terms of what it does. I don't think the gameplay would be exciting, right?
You got the mirrors where you can exclusively do damage to yourself, and not your opponent's Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, well, basically, you get your Dragapult EX in the active, and you get everything else out of play, and that's basically it for the game, right?
hmm
So you're just guaranteed to win. So I'm not sure I like the flow of things with that card, but
Yeah.
um,
It's high reward. Anyway, you want to talk about your other cards, the ones you submitted, the more
the more
toned down
spicy
ones.
ones, or
No,
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 the
no.
toned down ones. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. So let's see what we hit here. So we've got the Melmetal. Hang on, I just want to open up. So Melmetal here. It's a VMAX 330. Everything same. I just modified the tack. It's the tack cost is metal. There's 3 metals, and does 160 plus. Then if this attack does 60 more damage for each extra metal energy attached to this Pokemon, in addition to this attack cost. So you need to have beyond 3. And the original, I covered up the rest of the text, which was said, I believe you can't discard more than 2. You can't do more than 120 damage. I believe it will get you to the 280 number. So I covered that up. So now you can scale up to one shot. The big stage 2s and such. That was
So
my
with
thought.
6 energies, you're able to like one shot everything. That's a
Which
lot.
it's a lot of energy. I
Seems
think.
like pretty bad.
Well, look, right now the card's really bad, right?
Yeah.
It's in format right now. You haven't really wanted to build a Melmetal deck, have you?
No, no.
So so you think it's I didn't go far enough to make it playable?
I would have reduced its attack cost by 1,
I
certainly.
could have done okay.
Um,
So would that have made it playable then? Or it's
I
like
I mean, I don't know, it'd be okay, I guess. Like, then you could one-shot everything for 5, be doing good chunks of damage. Like, 3's hard to get on. Like, 160 for 2 isn't that bad. It does give up 3 prizes. That's
yeah.
obviously a big issue. So,
So if I made the attack cost down to 2, then you think maybe it has some because I was just trying to get something that's viable. I wasn't trying to make anything over the top with these cards. So you think I didn't go far enough to up it?
yeah, like,
Okay.
getting 6 energy, like, on getting 5 is, like, hard. And getting 6 is also hard. So, it's
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not like it's not like this is making that big of a change most of the time, I feel like.
yeah, I mean, this is the basically the energy cost of the
Dialga?
yeah Dialga, right? So I don't know that it has the same upside. It does more damage than that, so the
Well, I
damage
guess, but if
scales
you view
better.
Dialga, um,
You get 2 turns
with the
though.
regular attack,
The,
yeah, like,
so yeah, which so Dialga's probably better than this, and Dialga obviously is a marginal deck to say,
mhm,
perhaps at best, right, in terms of
yeah,
playability.
not a bad deck. It's like a in terms of balance, I feel like it's solid, but,
Yeah.
um,
So I didn't go far enough as you thought with that, which is probably fair here. So then the next card is another stage. This is one of the stage 2 EX, Venusaur EX. I kept everything the same. It's 340 HP, so it's a real tanky guy here. And it has the ability here, which I didn't change, Tranquil Flower, that once during your turn, if this Pokemon is the active spot, you can heal 60 damage for one of your Pokemon, which isn't bad. But then the retreat cost of the original was 4, I do believe. And that's
eh,
not good. So I just covered up the retreat cost. That's what I did. I didn't do a lot. I wasn't trying to be lazy. I was just trying to make a change to make the card playable. The attack was not great in the original, and it's still not great. Yeah, the retreat cost is 4. So to use it, you have to have like a switch to make it work, which you don't have. Those are limited, so you don't want to burn a switch. But now, if it's a pivot card that heals 60, it's not a. I think it might see some play. That's my thought.
I don't know. I mean, it's not like that much healing. Like healing 60
Yeah.
isn't that much. Healing 120 isn't even that impactful. Like I don't know. I feel like as a stage 2 EX, it's not like a liability to have him play because its HP is the highest in the game, tied for that. But it still has the issue of like I don't know. It's like hard to get into play with like pretty still I feel like underwhelming value more than it had before, but
Okay.
still not that much.
So I need to
I
reduce the attack cost then as
attack
well.
cost. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the attack's not really meant to be that good. Like I'd say, hmm, I guess so. I guess I might make the attack one colorless or maybe one grass.
Mm. Well, you could. What if I change the ability so that it doesn't have to be the active spot. I can heal 60.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair as well. And then obviously retreat doesn't really matter as much. Like 4 retreats, obviously not good, but um,
No.
the reason you gave it less retreat is because then it can act as a pivot to use the ability, right?
Right. So you could right, becomes a pivot so you can potentially make it take advantage of. Of course, you're healing, so you don't want to get knocked out. In which case, you still have to do switching, which is a problem. So let's think. So if it heals 60, and I could stack it, then if it can be from the bench, right? There's no reason not to let it stack. It's still a
Yeah.
stage 2, so it takes up enough deck space, enough work to get set up. I don't think it's going to be overpowered. It still might not see a ton of play, even at that point, but it would be a lot better than it is now.
Hmm.
So okay, so I didn't go far enough with this, and you just want to forget that it exists, right?
Yeah, no, I feel
Venusaur.
like Venusaur EX is a pretty underwhelming card. Charizard DX, the one from 151 isn't that good, but I think it's better than the Venusaur. The Blastoise is also better than the Venusaur. Probably the best of the three. Obviously, there's a very good Charizard DX though, so Venusaur is often
Yes.
the forgotten Pokemon of the three, and it still is.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I tried Venusaur, and then I've got an Electivire here, which has the second attack. Well, 2 attacks. Stage 1, but unleash lightning for 2 lightning does 220. And then the text on the original card said, you can't attack the next turn. And not just
At
this
all.
Pokemon can't attack, but no one can. You cannot attack the next turn, right? I'm going to call it up here to make sure I'm reading it right because it's pretty brutal, is what I'll
Mhm.
say. Yeah, during your next turn, your Pokemon can't attack. This includes new Pokemon that come into play. So, I mean, that's really rough, right? I don't know how I haven't tried to make it work. I don't. You said you need some type of a wall in between, right? Because obviously 220 for a single prize. In this lightning, you can accelerate lightning energy, but
I mean, it's like good, but I feel like it's not like insane. I feel like it's like balanced this way.
the way I did it,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the way it
I
is,
don't think it would be like a super good card.
no, I don't think it is. I think the way it is right now, right? The fact you can't, you cannot attack next turn. Period is just crazy, right? It's just they tried to make it unplayable, and I think they did.
Y- Which like is weird. Like I feel like it would be like if you stuck that on something with a really unique effect, then that would be cool. But it's not. It's just like regular damage.
Right. Or something with like huge HP so you could tank a hit potentially, but at 150 HP, you're probably not tanking a hit most of the time. So it's just, it's just not good enough, period. So, okay. So you think this one was fair, was kind of fair and balanced.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay. So good. That's what I was going for. So those are all that set of cards from myself. So what do you want to talk about next?
Um,
You want to
well,
talk?
let's see. Do you want to talk about yours or mine? Let's talk about mine.
Okay.
So I got some cool ones here. I got.
Let's
What are we
see.
feeling? Are we feeling trainers? I guess they're all trainers. So
Well, you
we're
got.
feeling
Oh,
trainers.
that's
So
right. I was thinking that was a Pokemon, but it really is not. So,
the one is a Pokemon. Pheasantipity is a Pokemon.
oh yeah. So I'm just calling things up here.
So do you want to look at that one? Yeah, and then let's look at your Pokemon as well.
Okay. I'm just trying to open. Just give me a second. I'm opening up the rest of your cards. So, which are you got a bunch of cards here.
Yeah,
All right. So you want to take a look at
opening up all of them.
the Pheasantipity?
Yeah, and then I want to look. Let's look at the Pokemon. Then we'll look at the trainers like after that.
Okay. So Pheasantipity. That's the only Pokemon left of yours, right? So Pheasantipity. We all know what it is. I heard some complaints about it too, which a bit surprises me. But so flip the script ability, and you kind of combine the ability with the attack. So all the
What is that?
it doesn't have an attack, right? It's just all the text is now for the ability, and it's highly redacted. This is one very top secret document here. So once during your opponent's turn, so right, one of the things now is when your opponent plays, you just sit there and stare at them a lot of times for a long time. So now we're getting things a little more interactive. That could be good. Although there's ruling questions like you can do it whenever you want. I'm not sure. You
Yeah, I
may
don't know. Like it gets kind of weird, but
you,
whatever, whatever.
you may do 10 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Um,
Yeah.
so, so you can, which is really interesting and very interesting. I gotta say,
I
just
was like
like
before. So obviously, Pheasantipity EX. If you don't know, the attack does 100. Normally, I originally had
right.
it at 100, and someone was like, "That seems kind of broken." So, which I guess it is because you can just do like 100 extra damage for free every turn. Well, like multiple hundreds of damage. So it's kind of, but
Oh,
that's like not very
you
much.
made the hundred anywhere for free. You took away the energy cost.
Well, the ability. Well, no, no. Now, well, it's essentially a free attack, right? It's like a
Oh,
free 10 damage
yeah.
every
So
turn.
okay. So you could do 100 damage for free every turn.
Yeah, I would have liked this to be like a little like 10 isn't that much. Like it's not meaningful most of the time.
Right.
Um like if you play four of these, 40 is obviously a bunch every turn. And if you have something to kind of slow the game down, it's like it's just a bunch of damage. It's kind of like how Frostlass plays, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how often would it be meaningful? That's the part of the. Now it's a basic, so it's easy to get in play. Obviously, like Pheasantipity's HP at 210, sometimes that helps the 230 HP. Sometimes takes better range, so 10 can matter. Sometimes it's a bigger thing if there's an effect on your opponent's Pokemon that have damage, right? Like if you play Ting Lu and you have this, that would be very nice. Of course, now you can just shut things down quite nicely. But for the most part,
Oh, and like with a new Pikachu EX, which has like a it can't get one shotted, but if you place damage counters on it, then it um
oh
can
right,
be. I guess doing it on your opponent's turn doesn't really have a benefit there, but
no. But you have to, yeah, it actually is worse in that case because potentially, if they have the ability to heal, right, at all,
Yeah.
then they could undo it. Which is, let's see, that the interesting part is, so right, what decks would want to use this? I'm not certain. That part's harder to say. But let's say it's useful in your deck. The question becomes, I guess you can use the ability whenever you want during the turn. So you'd have this little cat and mouse type scenario. Your opponent's taking actions and they're kind of watching you to see, trying to read your face of when are you thinking of doing the ability, and because they're trying to, you wanted to hit the right time and they're trying to get it so you can't get it at the time you want to do it, right? So they can get
Yeah, like,
around it.
ultimately, there have been things like this in the past, kinda, sorta, um, but they were ultimately, like, all removed because they, like, slow the game down to a grinding halt, like,
Yes.
literally all the time. So, yeah, they're not exactly the best, but
Yeah, every time you take an action, you like have to ask your, do you want to use flip the script? Then you do something and say, do you want to use flip the script? However, like like the days when every play, you're asking your opponent how many cards do you have in hand, right?
yeah.
Yeah, those are
That
fun
was, like, a
times.
pre-release, and there was, like, a pre-release where, like, half the cards their attack were, like, it does extra it, like, the attack damage is based on the number of cards in your opponent's hand, related to the number of cards in your hand, or to some, like, I don't remember, but
Yeah, I didn't get that deck because that's not the one I got in my pack. But that's the deck you had, and basically you were constantly asking how many cards in hand, and they're sitting there counting their cards repeatedly. It made the
yeah, no,
game,
and I'd be like, "You still have that many cards?" And it's like, "Well, yeah, I still have that many cards." So I
I,
kept, like, forgetting because I was, like, doing all this, like, complicated stuff.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it
like, I
did
was not the only person doing that.
no, it made things rather unenjoyable for a lot of
Mhm.
people, is what I'll say.
Yeah, it
And
didn't, like, completely ruin it, but it certainly took away from the fun. Or d I don't know, it just, like, was kinda stupid.
yeah. So anyway, so how the complications are the interesting part to this card, though, is what I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So should we talk about my Pokemon here?
Yeah, yeah, which one do you wanna move to first?
Why don't we talk about we'll talk about Dustnor, which is like every in the crosshairs for everyone. Everyone's hating this, and a lot of people think it should be banned. So I've solved the problem for Dustnor. A simple errata covering up one word is all I did. Still has Curse Blast ability. Once during a
Yeah, and
turn.
I'll read it
Oh,
out. So
go
it
ahead.
says, "Once during your turn, you may put 13 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon." No, no, it says, "On one of your Pokemon now instead of your opponent's."
Right, but it still says if you use this ability, this Pokemon's knocked out. So
Yeah.
potentially you're giving, and obviously giving up prizes does help some. Now you can give up 2 prizes, so you can really turbo your Charizard deck, right? With this,
Yeah.
I think most of the time though, this would not have value in most decks,
Yeah, no,
right?
this seems pretty bad.
I mean, the one thing is when you talk about cards that have been banned and expanded, which I know we've talked about that some. I don't. I guess in the podcast too. It's cards that shrink that give up prizes are ones that tend to get banned because they cause problems, right? In potential certain situations, but generally not in standard format. So I think Dustner would see a lot less play with this.
Yeah, I think so. You never know, but
All right. So anyway, so the next one is Snorlax, the Black Snorlax from Go, everybody's favorite
which
card.
unlike Dusknoir, everyone loves this card.
Right. No one wants to ban it. Although, look, the cries to ban Dustnor have been way more than the cries to ban Snorlax, which probably
I
doesn't
don't know.
make
I haven't
sense.
really heard too many people complain about Dusknoir. I mostly just heard you complain about Dusknoir.
I did for slightly
I've
different
I've heard some
reasons.
people complain about it. Yeah, I know
So
you don't like it because it creates long turns.
yeah,
Right.
that is not by itself, but yes, yeah, people play really long turns with it, and I've told you this before, and half the time they still use it wrong, and they help me win the game when they do it. So that just means they need to take longer, right? Which is not what
Yeah.
I want to see happen. Um,
Yeah.
and anyway, so everybody's favorite Pokemon, Snorlax, with a block ability. It's not quite good enough, though. That's the complaint I think I get the most, right? I imagine you'd agree too. So I just took out one word. This is a ruling question that I'm not sure what happens. I think I know how it would work, though. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon can't. Period. So,
Yeah, I saw this guy.
so if they want to attack, they can't. They want to obviously they can't retreat still, but they can't attack. If they want to use an ability, they can't. So it makes the Snorlax a little more playable, which is what we want to see.
Can the active like exist, or do all the active Pokemon just like disappear?
I think it has to exist. I think I think
It's not like
exist.
all their Pokemon just their active goes away. They send up a new one, it goes away,
Yeah,
and then
no,
everything's just
I
like
think that's getting a little too existential. It just can't do anything, right? So it can't retreat. They can't use abilities. They can't attack. So basically, you've won the game, I think, at this point. So except your opponent's probably playing Snorlax as well, right? So you just staring at each
yeah.
other.
So then like now you can't use abilities, and then now what happens, right? Like which abilities triggered?
Well, need to get obviously you have to play Canceling Cologne, right?
Hmm.
With a whole lot of Silene to recover them because you're going to need to Canceling Cologne like every turn to do anything. So,
Yeah.
and we like to see that in the game, right? That bringing
Yep.
it up.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I was going a little having a little fun. So these are all silly cards. So Venomoth, and I'm a big fan of Venomoth. The nice
Yeah,
staging.
everyone's favorite card as well. These are just like fan favorites after fan favorites.
But the Snorlax is very good, right? The Venomoth's not that good. Right. So
No, but I don't like playing against it. I feel like no one's like, you know what, I want to play against Venomoth.
because it's an item lock card the way it is originally. For one energy, it's a stage one. This is the stage ones. Like I said, I love single price stage ones. This is it once again. So I'm always trying to make these cards work. Does 30 damage, still does. And then your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused, which says help. And then during your opponent's next turn, it said before they can't play any items from hand, I think was the phrasing, something like that. But now during your opponent's next turn, they can't play.
Like
So,
any cards, or they just like lose.
well, they don't lose. Obviously, there is a bit of a ruling
Like they
question.
can play the game
They can't,
still.
they can't play the game. They can't do any plays. I guess they draw for turn. I wasn't sure about that part. They can't play any
Well, isn't that
cards.
playing the game? Like,
Well, I see that there's going to have to be a ruling from Pokemon on this one, right? What it
yeah, yeah.
means.
Design when they design a card like this, like what were they thinking? You know?
Well, so but look, Venomoth doesn't quite work now. But now your second turn, and you actually with Salvador, right? That's I think I got the name right there. The supporter. You can
Yeah.
evolve this turn one. So boom, go second turn one. Your opponent's doing nothing, and that's the type of game. You just so now, and you're only doing 30 damage per turn. So, it still could be a really long game to grind through
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
So you're not a fan of this one, I assume.
I mean, I don't know. This is like this is the card that'll counter Dustnor, right? Like they can't
Exactly.
Dustnor this.
They can't Dustnar. Exactly. So, and the last of these over the top Pokemon cards here. This is Sable Eye, and my thought for this is Lost Zone decks were really good. They've really fallen off, and I feel bad for Lost Zone, so I need to give a little boost to get it back. So I took Sable Eye with the Lost Mine attack, everybody's favorite attack. Still one Psychic Energy. I didn't want to go crazy with it, but you can only use this attack if you have cards in the Lost Zone. You don't need 10 now though, so that making it more payable. It's easy to do. You can obviously do it turn one. That's good, and then it's put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So no cap there. Just put so basically everybody's gonna play Sableye. You want to win the coin toss, go second, and you wipe out your opponent's board every time, basically, right?
Well, they could have missed energy. You don't necessarily always instantly win.
That's true. So you're gonna have to have counters, but this would certainly be one of the go-to decks, right? If not the go-to
Mhm.
deck, if this card existed.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the cards that you said would be go-to decks because they stop your opponent from like
Yeah.
doing anything. Like almost all of them.
Well, this is the aggro deck. The others are right the control decks. This is the aggro one. So this
Yeah.
could be the format. We could have Sableye, the Venomoth, and the Snorlax, and I think everyone would stop playing Pokemon altogether at that point.
Yeah. Well, because they can't.
They can't, right? And no one would go to any events probably ever again because it would be just way too unpleasant.
Yeah. I mean, the matches would be faster if it's like Sableye mirrors. So.
Right. That's why I would hopefully people bring Sableye because it's quick, right? It's a matter of who sets up first most of the time. Obviously, if you get a mist energy attached, then maybe other than your opponent's just scratching for 20 per turn. So it's all going to be the controls, the text for the mirrors and stuff. I guess where we're at here.
Hmm. But I actually I'm interested in your trainers too. I want to see that, and then we'll look at my trainers at the end. I feel like these are silly trainers, right?
Yeah, the first set of cards I did were silly cards. So the second set of cards I did were serious cards. So let me open them up here because I didn't want to open them all up at first because it just took a little bit of too much time. And I already have the crushing hammer one that obviously just I crushed the crushing hammer. So all right, so I'll just go in the order here. So Academy at Night, a stadium that has some value. not a ton, but once during each player's turn,
Oh, this.
that player may put a card from their hand on top of their deck as how it was originally, but that's it's too limited, right? So I just got rid of a few words here. Once during each player's turn, that player may put a card on top of their deck. There's no restrictions to where that card comes from. So certainly it can come from your hand. It could certainly come from your discard pile. That's a given.
Mhm.
I think, could you search your deck and put a card on top of your deck? I'm not sure. That probably needs to be a ruling. And I don't, also, can you put cards from your opponent's deck, hand, discard pile on top of your deck? I think you probably could, right?
Well, I know what I do if I was playing this, and I was in like a Pokemon tournament. I'd say like I'm gonna take your credit card and put it on top of my deck.
Well, look, it's going to be Pokemon cards. It's going to be
No,
Pokemon
I could
cards.
summon like the pieces of Exodia. I'm gonna get Blue Eyes White Dragon. You know,
I think you're going too far
Ace
here.
of Spades. Too far? No.
You could. Look, it's got to be a
I'm just
Pokemon.
following the rules
It
of the
has
game.
to be a Pokemon card. I think that's a given, right?
Well, it's not on the card.
Well, but even for other
If it was, if
cards,
I don't know. When they say search for a card, it says from your deck, but this doesn't have to be from
yeah.
your deck. It doesn't need to be from your opponent's deck. It could just be any card. Like, could I get like computer search from base set?
I
Just
think you
put it
well see
onto my
that's
deck.
part of it too. Besides, it could be my opponent's deck, right? Cards. I think
Yeah.
it could be someone playing next to me. I'm playing my Reggie Drago deck. My Dragapult is prized. My opponent's playing Dragapult. I take their Dragapult, slap it on top of my deck. I'm pretty happy about that
Yeah, or you
too.
can just do that with your opponent. Like, you just take all their Pokemon like out of play. Like,
Only
they got
only one at a
Charizard.
time turn though, right? But
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
but like you said, like I can have I have my backpack and I have computer search and all the whatever cards I want, and I could take those cards too, right? I assume I could put
Mhm.
there for your game as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the most broken use of this. I think it is taking like your opponent's Pokemon off the board. I feel like. I mean, theoretically, you could like set because it's only one card per turn. Because you can get
Right.
any card, but it's only one per turn.
Right.
But I feel like getting like a bunch of broken pieces, you need like a few broken cards that like aren't in standard. So I feel like the most broken use is going to be just like taking your opponent's cards away. I mean, then they can take their cards back. So I don't really know what's going to happen with this.
R-
I mean,
Right.
obviously it's like a stupid card, but
Yeah, you'd have to have some things. Like I assume you couldn't have a sideboard to choose from, or maybe you make a sideboard
wasn't
rule.
that what you were saying with like
I would
with the
think so.
computer search?
Like I
It's kind of like
assume
a side.
you can't allow yourself to take away from like other people at other tables games, right? Probably
Yeah, it's like
that's
literal theft. Like that's not exactly what we're looking for here.
right, and that's too chaotic, right? Plus, someone's game that you're not involved with, all of a sudden you're impacting. So, but can you
Yeah,
have
it's
a
like you and all your friends show up to your event, and then all of a sudden, like you're playing against someone, and then like all five of the tables next to you, like just take away all your Pokemon, you just lose.
exact? So, see, but the interesting thing is, if you show up to events like that, I think you want to have a deck that's not filled with good cards, because if you have the best cards at the table in the room, people are going to take your cards. You want the deck that people aren't going to take your cards from.
Yeah, you have like the dirty cards that like no one wants to touch.
Well, and you want to build the deck that's
Zeros
not
one.
too strong, not too good, right? That's my thought,
Um,
because therefore no one's going to mess with your deck, so you're going to be able to play your deck. So you got to try to find good enough, but not too good.
I guess so. I kind of see what you're
You
saying,
don't want to have the
but
target on your back, right? If you
yeah,
don't want to have Pidgeotix and all that stuff, right? Because it probably people are going to take it.
yeah,
So I don't. So anyway, so obviously very silly card there. In what level of chaos? That's the big question. Um,
yeah.
so moving, so Arc Phone here, which is not the best card in format.
I played it. It's a good card. It's underrated in control. I think it's a card that you should often be playing in control.
Because
But
because this is the best way to access your prize cards, right? Maybe the
yeah,
only
I mean,
way
it's the
right
only
now.
way to access the prize cards. I
So
think.
you look at the top card,
Outside of his you and have it all.
right? But that's limited.
Yeah.
So you look at the top card of your deck, which you don't know what it is before you play it. It's an item. Then you may switch that card with one of your prize cards, is what it says, right? I believe on the original text, and it stays face
Yeah.
down.
Oh.
So, but now you look at the top card of your deck. You still don't know what it is, but then you may switch this card with prize cards. So you can swap this out for that card for all of your prize cards. So you go turn one or turn two, whatever. You play Arc Phone. You're down to one prize remaining immediately. So
Yeah.
games are taking too long, I find at times. So this will speed up the game a lot, right? Basically become single prize games. So you
Yeah, it's like always
gotta like
done
that. So right, so I like so you don't know what cards at the top of your deck most of the time, but you really take that risk when you're getting rid of 5 prize cards.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I guess they go on top of your deck, and I guess you get to pick the order too. It doesn't that those are some of the rulings that we'd have to get into to make
Yeah.
it work out. So,
Yeah,
um,
this seems like a pretty fair card. No, and honestly, I feel like this one like this isn't like to the extent of the other cards. Obviously, like everyone would play 4 copies of this, but also
yes,
like it would create a game that is like playable, kind of.
yeah, the randomness of who hitting arc phone early versus not is
But I
would
feel like you can pretty much what? Sorry, what were you saying?
if you're not able to get arc phone early in the game, you're just going to lose most of the time. So it probably becomes let's go second game too, because you play the 4 Arvin and anything else that helps you get items, right?
Well, I feel like you go second, and then you maybe it's not playable. I feel like you go second,
Yeah, you go. Mhm.
and you just like do like Raging Bolt or something, and and then you say, oh wait, it doesn't need to be your prize cards, right?
Well,
So you could take all your prize cards and
I
one of
wasn't.
your opponent's prize cards, and then put this back as one of your opponent's prize cards, and then you win. Or is that not
I
what?
wasn't thinking
Um,
that. I don't think that would be positive, but
well, no. But
so all
anyway,
right.
we'll say it's
So
your
I
prize
should
card.
have left your in. Let's assume your still exists. I could have said with your prize cards. I should have left that word. It was in the middle. I didn't think of that scenario. So I'm glad. This is why you need a group, a team to come up with these cards so we can iron out these little bumps in it. So I
Mhm.
don't think we should mess with our opponent's
Minor
prize cards.
imperfections. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So I think you can then I think you go second, and then you
y-
just do something where it says like you just take a knockout, like you take all but one of your prize cards, and then you take a knockout, and then you
right
win.
now but you have to but the raging bolt's probably not good because you need to use your supporter to make that attack happen. You need to be
Oh,
able.
but you also draw through like a good chunk of your deck, so you'll probably see one of your 4 Archons.
Okay. So you're okay not playing Arvin to guarantee the arc phone.
Yeah, I mean, well, you still need to find the Arvin, and like that's not like actually a guarantee either.
No, but for Arvin, I mean that's true. That's true. So maybe yeah, you have a turbo deck with with Squawkabilly and such, and away you go. Um,
Mhm.
and get this on your second turn and try to win the game. So now this last card is a support, and I tried to make this one fair because this card, Arc Phone's not the most played card, but it has some value, right? You've messed around with it probably more than most. I have a little bit too. But Spark, which is from Pokemon Go set, and it's a horrible supporter. I think it's fair
Yeah,
to say.
I think it's the best like lightning energy acceleration supporter in the game right now.
Yeah, it's accelerating the energy to lightning, and obviously there's better ways to do acceleration to lightning without using your supporter, I think. So you draw 2 cards, and then if you drew any cards this way, then the original text said then you flip a coin, and if heads, you attach a lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon, which was terrible. I made it a
Mhm.
little better, and the question is, I'm not sure if I made it so it's playable still. So that's what I wanted to see. So you draw 2 cards. If you drew any cards that way, you attach a lightning card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. So remove the coin flip. And then also it could be the active Pokemon, which is a plus. So is that enough to make Spark kind of a viable card?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like fair. It's solid. It's kind of like Welder, Gardenia's Vigor, or whatever.
Right.
It's less energy, it's only one, but um,
But it's from the
yeah, it's kind of like
discard.
Sawdust. It has
Yeah.
the obviously only one energy, and you draw less cards, but you do you are guaranteed to draw the cards, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not good enough, then the other thing I could have done is cover up the little lightning symbol. So attach an energy, right? A energy is bad grammar, but we could live with that. So to make it not just lightning, because obviously there's other types that would benefit even more from the acceleration. That might
Mhm.
be a better place for the card. I wasn't sure if that would make it too powerful too, if I did that.
Yeah, I feel like that's I don't know. I mean, obviously it takes away some of the character. I think it's okay the way you made it. Like this is actually I thought it was I didn't like because we looked at each other's cards
Yeah.
before, right? Did you look at all mine?
Uh, Briefly. just
Yeah,
briefly.
and I like looked at yours pretty quickly as well, and I didn't remember. I thought this one was gonna be like super broken, but this is like pretty fair. Probably what
Okay.
Spark should have been. Um, the bench versus active thing like doesn't matter that much, right? But the flip a coin is so bad. Like it's a
Right.
really bad card.
Right. I mean, it really even if it said draw 3 cards with the coin flip, it still probably wouldn't be playable. I don't think. And if it only draws 2, it just And obviously, like we have generator and we had the stage 1 before to accelerate.
Yeah,
So
flat. Yeah.
Flaffy. So
Which you don't have now, but
no, but even with generator, you just don't need this in lightning decks. So just trying to make that a little more fair. So all right, so
okay.
that's
But now,
yeah. Now we get to the big finish here.
yep, we got not Grand Tree or here is your underdubs. I was considering they have lots of words, so I feel like that's what you're looking for. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't end up getting to those yet. I have a few here. We'll start with the supporters. We'll start with all those. Oh, we talked about Ultra Ball. Um,
Yes. So
then we
so
talked about the stadium. And we talked about Pheasant Dipty, which isn't a trainer, obviously,
right.
and
So
Hand Tripper. Yep, we talked about a few of these.
yeah.
But we'll
So
start with.
y-
What are
y-
you gonna
so
ask?
yeah, one is supporter. So what do you want to do
Yeah,
first?
we'll start with Briar.
Yeah.
Um, and then we'll also talk about Professor Terra. They're kind of similar. Of course, everyone's like Briar, Professor Terra, same role in decks, right?
Basically,
So
yes.
it says you can only play this if your opponent has exactly 2 prizes remaining. And then if you do, your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out. So a pretty solid effect there.
Yeah, you don't get to make an extra prize though, huh? I'm
I was
still
considering adding that back in,
you
but I
could have
didn't.
kept that, right? I imagine the edit could have kept that. So you want to keep it reasonable though.
Hmm.
Okay, so right, so if in a match in back, if you have the slow bro, right, that knocks out your opponent. Oh, that's if they only have 1 prize left, right?
No, what? That
The-
doesn't not. You just take
Oh, you
prizes.
take extra. Oh, you take 2 prizes if they have 1 prize left, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so that gets tricky. Okay, you could do that with the Dustnor though. You could
yeah,
combo that. Okay, so go on. So Briar, yep, it might see some more play if you made that
yep.
change.
It can be in any deck. Then we do have Professor Terra scenario, which is put one Pokemon in play into discard.
Right
Um,
now,
which by the way,
I assume your Pokemon goes in your discard pile. Your Pokemon go in their discard. It doesn't say that, but I assume
yeah,
that
I
would be the
assume so.
situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Ideally there would be some like parentheses text, but for some reason that's like disappeared. Yeah, the word discard, by the way, is not like in the regular text to the original card. It's in the parentheses, which is like kind of funny. But anyways, so yeah, this can discard your opponent's Pokemon though, and you choose it, and so you can just like discard their attacker or something.
right. So yeah. So Briar gets rid of a card, or that one it knocks out. So you take prizes with that. With Professor Terracenera, you don't take any prizes
Yeah,
when you
but you can
play it.
discard like a bench Pokemon like their Pidgeot EX.
Right.
If you wanna get rid of their Pheasant Dipty EX, but can't Gust knock it out, they have like 2 draw threats. You can just knock the one out and discard the other.
Or if you're up against like any deck that's like an evolution deck, like a Charizard or whatever like that. If they have 2 Charmanders in play, you just take them both out, right? Use one with
Yeah,
Pressure Turf scenario, and then take out the other act if that's the way things you can make it work. So it helps you deal with things like that too. Um,
yeah.
yeah, because obviously Pressure Turf scenario doesn't see play ever, right, in a deck. So
I know it's a completely terrible card. Um,
so
yeah,
yeah. So I think I think maybe kicked it up a little bit much there, but
no,
um,
it's all good.
so just trying to help rescue these cards. And then we have
Yeah, I don't know what actually happens to the attached cards because it doesn't say. But yeah,
yeah, that's another ruling too. I imagine it gets discarded. I think,
yeah,
but
probably. But whatever.
yeah,
Doesn't really
that's
matter.
not your problem as a card designer here.
No. Then I made a digging duo. This is just the last supporter we have.
Yep.
Digging Duo is everyone's favorite supporter. This card supporter is like really bad, the original, but now I made it say flip a coin. Look at the top. Look at the cards. No,
Yeah, look at the
what?
cards of your deck.
Of the cards on your deck and put one into your hand. So you just search for any card, and if tails, put your hand shuffled into your deck.
Oh, okay. So if it's tails, Wait, so I always look at the cards in my deck and I put one in my hand.
Yeah.
But if it's tails, I shuffle the cards, including that new card I got, and put it
Yeah, yeah,
into
you
my
just, like,
deck.
lose your whole hand.
So you get guaranteed to get one card of whatever you want, which is great. But you may just lose 50% chance you lose everything in your hand,
Yeah,
including that card.
yeah.
So you took an unplayable card, and which I don't even remember what it did. Look at the original.
You don't remember
I'm trying to
Digging
think if
Doom?
you made it worse.
I think it's better because, like, it has theoretically, it could be good. Like, on a coin flip, it could be good. Digging Doom was, like, just but not good.
Oh yeah, it's a very weird one because it's a bottom looking at cards at the bottom, which is always weird. Heads look at the bottom eight, put one into your hand. Yeah, no three tails. You only look at three and put one. It's a terrible card, but now you're running the risk of losing your entire hand. So this is like crushing
Watch make
hand.
it the other way around where you couldn't lose your entire hand, but then you'd still guaranteed get that one card, but I
Mhm.
couldn't do that because of the way the text was worded, I don't think.
Okay,
So, yeah.
so like with crushing hammer, which I'm not a big fan of because that on a coin flip is a huge swing. This card is now possibly a bigger swing than crushing hammer the way it is currently, not my errata crushing hammer. So you're getting one card of anything else, which is good, but you've used supportive for turn, right? The downside is brutal though, so I don't see very often that you'd ever want to play this card. I gotta say,
Yeah, but I think it's a funnier card now.
it's interesting. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
conversation starter for sure.
Yeah. Then we'll talk about I got four more cards. I got two tools, two items, and a card and the one item is interesting. So we'll talk about Doll.
Yep.
This was gonna evolve into something, but it doesn't. So it's Snorlax Doll. With a whopping 12 HP on an item. Um, and it says if this card is in your hand, you may put it on your bench as if it were a 12 HP basic colorless Pokemon.
Yep.
At any time during your turn, you may discard this from play.
Fair enough.
This card can't be affected by any special conditions, can't retreat, and if it's knocked out, your opponent can't take any prizes for it.
So the big thing, look, so you've gone with this odd HP number. You've gone with that.
Yeah.
But this doesn't give up prizes, right? So it's
Yeah. It
not
was
as
supposed to evolve and be
impactful.
the only previous evolution to a certain card as well.
Oh, there was something that evolved from Doll
Yeah.
that you
There
didn't
was going to be.
that you didn't
Yeah.
get that far.
I think I kept looking up names and couldn't find anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
something you could edit down to this that
Yeah.
you liked. Okay. So and the big problem with Snorlax Doll is it has to be in your hand to start the game, right? I forget what the wording is, the original. It's pretty, we both do some control, and this was kind of like Pokédoll was an amazing card. This card is not that
Yeah.
at all.
Lily's Pokédoll.
Lily
There's a card
Pokéstall.
called Pokédoll
Yeah,
as well, which
thank
is
you.
also good, I think.
So, yeah, it has to be your starting hand when you set up, right? So even a mulligan, I don't think it works. I don't
But
remember. I don't
no, I
remember.
think it would work in a
So,
mulligan
but
because you can like control your mulligans with Snorlax Doll.
okay, so but it's a pretty bad card the way it is now. So you're making it more viable. Look, it's a card that we see some play. Obviously, the HP is super low, but it's something to hide behind, right? That doesn't give a prize. So it may, it could see some play in some decks. I'm not sure what decks would play it, but obviously haven't thought about that. We'll use Pokédoll Sword, which kind of is like this. That was a little better than this because you could, I think, because you
Yeah,
could
I
get
mean, it did have more HP.
you can get it out of play. This one you can't. Oh no, you can discard it from play anytime you want. Lily's Pokédoll, I think, went back in your deck too.
Yeah,
Which
which was better. There's Robo Substitute, which is like Lily's Pokédoll, and
yeah.
that one would get discarded, I believe. So
So it would see some play. This would be a reasonable change. Not making it 12 HP. Pokemon's I don't think going to go with odd. I think they're not. I don't think they're going away from multiples of 10 for HP.
but it's yeah.
No,
No, yeah.
I don't think they're there yet. Well, you never know with the future, right? Whatever they need to do to sell cards in the future, but I think we're not there yet. But I think you made this card more reasonable.
Yeah, it's honestly like kind of tame now. I want it to be like I don't know, but figured like I had to do this card.
Okay.
Then we have the other item, which is accompanying flute. I don't remember what this one does. So it apparently says reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. You may
Yeah.
choose any number of Pokemon you find there and put those Pokemon onto be- bench. Shuffle the other cards back into deck. So this allows you to get any Pokemon, including evolutions, from the top 5 cards of your deck and just put them into play.
Right, because right now it's a like a control style card usually because it looks at your opponent's deck is what it does,
Mhm.
right? Top 5 cards, and you can put them there onto play. So that's good. It has some value now. This card would probably be too good, honestly. I don't know if
Yeah, no, I think it would be
right
too good.
because we have ways to control. We have the stadium. You can put a card on top of your deck, and we have like Cryptomaniacs, Cyphermaniacs Code Breaking. Sorry, right? You put 2 cards on top of your deck, so you play that, and then you get any 2 Pokemon you want onto your bench. So obviously, you get 2 Archeops onto your bench, which some decks actually use up a V-Star power to do
Yeah, I
that.
mean, if you get 4 Arcaps on your
You can
bench,
keep
theoretically.
it well, and you can keep doing it. And you can if they get knocked out, you can rot them back, and you can smack them back down again. So or whatever you want. Any stage 2s you can get. You're attacking with Dragapult EX turn 1. Think how fun that would be, right? To
Yeah,
play
yeah.
against because you have the tool, and so you can attack for 1 energy.
Oh, I know, I just feel that's what you do in Standard. You go first, you get a bunch of dust storms into play, and then you'd knock them out, and then you'd recover them, and then you get them into play again.
So, oh, that's true. So now, for going first is going to be tricky because getting you can't play supporters, so getting these in hand is going to be
I feel
tricky.
like you'll just send it and just, like, get a few. I mean, if you get, like, 2, you probably win, right?
Yes.
Like, they could bench multiple Pokemon, but if they don't, 2
R-
is essentially always gonna get you there.
Yeah. No, it would have a huge swing on the game in that regard. Yes. But I mean, obviously, a more reasonable approach is after as the game gets going. But yes, it would be very scary for the Dust Snores as well. In a lot of things. So it would be, this would be a completely broken card. So it would this would get banned probably, either before the first tournament or after the first tournament that took place. This card would be banned. I gotta imagine.
Yeah, yeah. But, it's a card. I mean, it's not a
It's
card,
not
but
a card, but it's a thought.
yeah. Then I got a couple of tools here. I got Earth and Seal Stone, which has a V-Star power for 3 colorless, and it says the Pokemon. Doesn't need to be a Pokemon V. I decided to change it. Um, it puts damage on each Pokemon in play, including yours and your opponent's, until they have 10 HP. This is also to kind of go with the self-damage
Mhm.
idea.
Right, and you have your stadium that does 20 to every Pokemon between turns. So
Then you attack, and the game instantly ends because both players are all knocked out. It
yes,
depends if they take all 6 prizes. So
right.
I
If
guess the idea would be that you just have 1 Pokemon in play, then your opponent has, like, a bunch of Pokemon in play, and then they lose to 2 win conditions, and you lose just to 1, so then you'll win the game.
so right. So obviously the card's absurd, but so you get this interesting game dynamic if
I
you
think without that, it's, like, not that absurd.
without what? Oh, without that
Without the,
stadium?
like, stadium, yeah.
Well,
I
it's
mean, it's, like,
pretty
strong,
rough.
but
I mean, like Frostlass and stuff. It's tricky because if you don't win, now all your Pokemon are down to 10. So if your opponent can move around some damage counters, you're just losing the game, right?
yeah.
Or a spread attack. So it would be a big. So using this attack would be you're setting yourself up to lose. So you have to know what you're up against. And is there a count? Is there something that can go in every deck to take advantage? But see, my thought is that if you have this card, and let's say you have the stadium to do the damage, right? So this is absurdly broken at that point. So then you have the, but so you don't want to have a full bench because then you lose by 2 win conditions, giving up 6 prizes.
Yeah, yeah.
But if in the same format we have these things that just donk your opponent's deck or just run through like you can get all your dust snores out on the first turn, right, and wipe things out.
That's true.
Then you need to bench a lot of Pokemon. So then you have this kind of it's not rock paper scissors, it's just rock paper or whatever. It's just a coin flip game of do I want to bench a lot of Pokemon? Do I not want to bench a lot of Pokemon? That's kind of this
Yeah,
mind game you're going through.
yeah.
Okay.
But, perfectly balanced format, I'm assuming.
Trying to make the game Pokemon a little bit more balanced, a little more fun for everyone.
Yeah. Right. Then we have my last card here, which is another tool, TM Turbo Energize. It's a solid card in standard. Not anything absolutely insane, but it's all right. But then I changed it a little bit here, removed a little bit of the text, and says it's a tool that says if this card is attached to one of your Pokemon at the end of your turn, search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. So yeah, just some energy acceleration. But it's not an attack anymore. It's just a thing. It's not an
It,
ability either. It's just a thing.
right. It's kind of and this would stack, I assume, right?
Yeah, yeah. You could get as many. You could get up to like 8 energy. You just having a grand old time.
It's great 8 energy every turn. Honestly, if you kept the text that it gets discarded at the end of your turn, maybe it could work. Maybe, right? It,
Maybe I don't know. I mean, it's like
that
really good. It's just
that's
like
probably
it's
too
just
good.
free energy. Like
Right.
you'd always play this in like every like Raging Bolt. You'd like stick this in 100%. It's like super good.
Right. The only downside is it can't go to your active Pokemon, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I can't. I forgot about that. But that doesn't really matter that
no, so
much.
generally that's not an issue. So right. I mean it's just insane the energy acceleration with it. So obviously it opens up a lot of silly decks that aren't quite workable now. And this would encourage you to play decks with like super turbo, oversized amounts of energy too, because you could
Yeah, you could actually play like Galvantula.
yeah, I really wanted that to work, Avantula. And when I tried it, it just didn't work. Every time I got it, opponent was Dragapult. They went first, and they had their Dragapult evolved before I could item lock them. So
Yeah,
I was like, "This,
and then they
this is."
knocked out all your Joltex, right?
It
It's
wasn't
too many.
good. It wasn't good. So maybe I could try to go back. So yes, I mean this is obviously a very powerful card. Probably needs a little bit of tweaking to balance it, but yeah, it's
Quality stuff here.
it's
So
yeah. So we're having some fun with this. You can try to have your own. Think about cards. Are there interesting ideas? It was an idea you came to me because I guess you said you saw it from Magic the Gathering. So a different way
yeah.
to think about cards. And obviously you could put more time, and you could try to come up with things that are more balanced as well, along with it. So, you want to wrap things up here?
Yeah, if you have ideas for cards that you could like move text from, comment them down below. Um, Make sure that they're like funny, but not too funny. And then yeah, I mean we might
Yeah.
play with this. Tell us if you want us to play with these.
Okay. Yeah. If you have cut suggestions, keep them family friendly. I would say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
if you'd like to see, we could play it on the simulator. So on a simulator, so it's always doable. So yeah, so let us
well,
know.
maybe. Also, that's not necessarily always doable.
Well,
With
yeah, some of the interactions we'd have to be careful with their interactions. They have to be things that are doable within what the simulators
yeah,
allow.
and there are some different simulators that I've heard of as well, and I might take a look around. But yeah, anyways, we hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I don't know, it's just a fun, silly one, but we hope you enjoyed, and we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.